you're a runner with ITB pain or you've got any sort of lateral knee pain and you've been foam rolling using this and you're just not quite getting the results, in this video I'm going to explain exactly why that is the case. I'm Andrew Wine, sports physiotherapist, and I'm here with Calvin, who's got some ITB pain or lateral knee pain in his right knee. I'm going to take you through how to sort this out properly and not just treat the symptoms. I'll get you down your back there, Calvin. So ITB, or pain on the outside here, is one of the most common injuries in runners. You might feel it as you increase your load or your speed, or you might feel it as well when you're going up and down stairs. And it typically presents laterally on the outside of your knee, vaguely around here. This is a helpful test that you can do where I compress the ITB against the lateral femoral condyle there, and that will be quite uncomfortable. I'm putting a lot of pressure there as it crosses over and flicks there. And that's a common clinical test. So you could partner up with someone and do that as a bit of a test. Was that sore there, Cal?
A little bit.
A little bit sore, yeah, good. And then on this side, it's quite different. So I can feel immediately from my thumb that there's not the same degree of pressure and tension on that outside there. And I'm guessing that wasn't sore at all. Perfect. Okay, so we mentioned foam rolling. Everyone foam rolls, and I'm here to tell you that's actually not going to fix it. But do I prescribe it? I do. It does work, but not for the reason you think it is. Cal's demonstrating perfect technique there. What he's actually doing is releasing trigger points in vastus lateralis. He's not actually stretching the ITB. You can't stretch the ITB because it's really tight fascia. So this works, but not for that reason that you think it is. It's still worth keeping in the program, and for all the patients in here, I still prescribe the foam roller, but for the trigger points in vastus lateralis. Instead, here's a far more effective way of treating it. So Calvin, I'll get you up on your left-hand side, please. Here's what actually works on fascia. Fascia is connective tissue, and this particular fascia is some of the toughest in the body. So we're using a very small amount of balm here, so we get a little bit of glide. And if anyone's looked up anatomy trains, Tom Myers, he shows that the fascia on the outside and the muscles are all connected as part of something called the lateral line, which is really, really interesting to look at about how the body actually is connected. This tool here is a fascial tool, and it's what we use on all our ITB patients in the clinic. And what you'll notice with the beveled edge on this tool, specifically designed for this, is that it gets really bumpy over areas where there's chronic sort of tightness or connective tissue restriction. The beveled edge releases the layers of restriction between the fascial layers that make it glide better. So this is a far more sustainable treatment technique as opposed to just foam rolling. And we're seeing here the typical response where there's some chronic tension. You can see it's going red here and nowhere else. So it's very smooth here, but it's quite bumpy here, and we want to work through that. This works way better than your hands and way better than a foam roller. I'm going to show you something that is commonly missed. So if we have a look at Calvin in standing here, Calvin, I'll get you to stand on your left leg first and balance. Now what we can see there is he's really nicely stacked. His trunk is over his pelvis, over his foot, okay? And then let's have a look at the right side. Okay, there's a difference. I'm hoping you can see that on the camera as well. We've got trunk lean up higher. We've got a greater shift laterally and a difference down here at the big toe. And let me show you how we measure that. This is hip adduction. So if we measure down through the thigh and then across from the ASISs, we get a number of 9 degrees. Let's have a look at the left there. That's a little less, 6 degrees. It might not seem like much, but that difference in increased adduction on the right side is positively associated with tension in the ITB. We know from the research that in runners with ITB that they have increased adduction moments on that side. So what's really going on here? The lateral line that Tom Myers talked about is overloaded. It needs to be balanced with strengthening. And most physios will tell you that they need to strengthen the gluteus medius muscle in here, and they are correct. However, there's a bit more going on than that. With the lateral line through here, TFL, VL, and peroneus longus is all linked. Peroneus longus comes down here underneath the foot and inserts at the base of the first metatarsal. Now watch what happens closely at the foot here as Calvin takes his weight onto the right foot. Okay, so onto 2, Calvin. So 2 feet, weight even, good. Okay, slowly shift across onto the right foot. What we noticed was a very, very late engagement of this big toe. All right, shift back onto 2 again. And there's a little bit of valgus deviation as well. Now, if I support this and hold it and press it down, okay, connect that down. You feel that, Cal? Yep. Now shift onto that right foot. Good. Feels a bit strange, I know. Okay. Good. How's it feel?
Pretty good.
More stable?
More bones.
Okay, great. So what we really need to do, yes, we need to strengthen the gluteus medius, but we've got to get the foot involved as well as part of that lateral line. And I'm going to show you some simple exercises you can do right now to sort that lateral line imbalance out. Okay, so exercise number 1 to strengthen up the gluteus medius with being nicely stacked on this side. These are hip hitches. Calvin's holding on with his left hand here. And Calvin, what we want to do is slowly raise the pelvis up. Good. I'll just bring this up so we can see. And slowly lower it down. Good. Not too far. Really small and really slow. Good. Great. So Calvin's using his right hip abductor here. And we want to make sure that it's not TFL dominant. We want gluteus medius, the middle part. That's typically what's most underactive. We know in ITB, TFL, VL, those muscles tend to get overactive. We also know from the research that the gluteus medius, the middle and the anterior portion, are also underutilized or wasted. So we're really targeting those. How are you feeling there, Cal?
Good, burning there.
Excellent. Right where?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So it's a little bit more posterior than I'd like. It's not too bad. What happens if we shift back a little bit? Now go. Okay, great. It moved it more forwards because he was shifting his weight forwards. We went to the posterior. So a little adjustment there. Watch out for that. Great. 3 sets, 12 to 15 repetitions, very small range of motion. That's the secret. We are exercise number 2. This one's called step ups. What Calvin's going to be doing is using a step here on the ground. It's a step that we need to be next to on the side. Now it's only a small step, and remember how we found that toe activation was a bit of an issue? We're going to use a little spacer. That gives him a little more access to the peroneals and the medial column of the foot, so it's stable. Because remember, this engages first before everything comes on up here. So Cal, pressing down into the big toe there, good, great. And slowly stepping up onto the step with your pelvis level, good. And stepping down again, keeping the pelvis level, great. Up again, pelvis level, down again, perfect, great work. Is that pain-free?
Yeah.
At the knee? Fantastic, doing a great job there. Good, stabilizing the foot, pelvis level. For those following along at home, this is very good execution from Calvin here. He's keeping his pelvis level, working the glute med. We've got the big toe engaged. One thing to watch out for is trunk lean. We want to have the trunk level, so the shoulders level. Let's just keep an eye on that. You might find that a little bit more challenging. If that's the case, we'll let you hold on with something here. Great. Fantastic. We want really good form. So I personally like 2 or 3 sets, but not a lot of repetitions, depending on how good the form is and how stacked you are. You can use a mirror for feedback as well. Exercise number 3. It's very rare for an ITB patient to come in and not get this at our clinic. But this is what really sets this video apart, is we're integrating the foot, the base of support for a knee and hip issue. Okay, the most commonly used foot exercise is the short foot. I'm using the spacer again because, again, this toe is just drifting a little bit across and we want really ideal alignment. So Calvin, what I'll get you to do with this one is put weight down onto the toe. Good. And we call it short foot because we want to slightly raise. Yeah, not so much through here. I'm more thinking just here. Good. Lifting that arch up a little bit. Perfect. Good. Can you keep those toes relaxed? Good. And raising through there. It's very subtle. Perfect. Because you're using muscles that effectively shorten the foot. That's why we get the name from it. We're lifting the arch, tensing. And when you do that, peroneus longus fires, the intrinsic arch muscles fire, and we get a more stable foot platform. Good. If you can, let's do your best to avoid using the front here. So think more underneath. Yes, like that. Perfect. Good. Now this one is 20 to 30 repetitions. 1 or 2 sets is plenty of this one. This should be a daily habit. And there you have it. There is ITB with an absolute difference. We're now not just treating the symptoms, we're treating the underlying cause, and I hope with some exercises you may not have thought of before. So the key takeaways, look out for the foot. Make sure you actually work on the fascia, not just relying on this guy to loosen off your ITB. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. It really helps the channel grow and we can continue to share great tips like this that help more people.